Hello students, today we are going to start our fourth chapter from your book Flamingo, and the name of the chapter is The Red Trap by Selma Lagerlöf. Selma Lagerlöf was born in 1858 and died in 1940. She was a Swedish writer whose stories have been translated into many languages. A universal theme runs through all of them, a belief that the essential goodness in human being can be awakened through understanding and love. This story is set amidst, it means in the middle of the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore, which figure large in the history and legends of that country. The story is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale. It means the story is narrated in the manner of a fairy tale, and it gives us the message that the emotions of love and acceptance can reform others. Remember this, that the story gives us the message that the emotions of love and acceptance can reform others. Now let us begin our chapter. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small red traps of wire. He made them himself at odd moments from the material he got by begging in the stores or at the big farms. But even so, the business was not especially profitable. So he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep body and soul together. Even so, his clothes were in rags, his cheeks were sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. In this paragraph, odd moments, it means a short period of free time. Sunken, it means lowered, and gleamed, it means shone. In this paragraph, once there was a man who used to sell small red traps made of wire. These red traps were made by him in his free time. He used to collect the material required by begging from stores or big farms. Still, his business was not earning him any profits. Therefore, he had to beg or steal in order to survive. His clothes were old and torn. His cheeks were lowered inside due to malnutrition, and one could easily see the hunger in his eyes. Now next paragraph. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road, left to his own meditations. But one day this man had fallen into a line of thought which really seemed to him entertaining. In these lines, monotonous, it means boring; vagabond, it means wanderer, a person who wanders here and there; plods, it means walk heavily. In this line, the life of the red trap seller was very sad and boring. He was homeless, and slowly with heavy feet he walked along the road, lost in his own thoughts. But one day he got lost in a series of thoughts which he found very interesting. Now, he had naturally been thinking of his red traps when suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world about him, the whole world with its lands and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big red trap. It had never existed for any other purpose than to set baits for people. It offered riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as the red trap offered cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closed in on him, and then everything came to an end. In these lines, bait, it means food placed on a hook to trap the rat. Here it is referred to the comforts of life which is offered to trap someone. Tempted, it means convinced or attract. In this line, the man was thinking about the red trap, and suddenly a thought came to his mind that the whole world, which includes land, sea, cities and villages, was similar to a red trap. He thought that there was no meaning of the existence of this world. It was nothing but a temptation, just like cheese and pork, which we offer as bait to catch the rat. So according to him, as soon as someone tries to comfort himself with joy, food and shelter, he at once gets trapped into this red trap which is known as world. Now next paragraph. The world had, of course, never been very kind to him, so it gave him unusual joy to think ill of it in this way. It became a cherished pastime of his, during many dreary ploddings, to think of people he knew who had let themselves be caught in the dangerous snare, and of others who were still circling around the bait. In these lines, cherished it means to love or protect, dreary it means dull, ploddings it means walk heavily, and snare it means trap. In this line, no one in the world had ever been kind to the red trap seller, so he started thinking ill of others. It became a favorite pastime for him. During dull moments, these thoughts made him happy. So he continued with thinking ill of those who were known to him. He would imagine that those people who were already trapped in the red trap of worldly things, and also those who were about to get trapped in it. Now next paragraph. One dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. Nor was he refused. Instead of the sore faces which ordinarily met him, the owner, who was an old man without wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. Immediately he put the porridge pot on the fire and gave him supper. Then he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough both for the stranger's pipe and his own. Finally he got out an old pack of cards and played Majolis with his guest until bedtime. In these lines, trudging it means walking slowly, carved off it means to divide something into parts, and Majolis is a game played with a playing cards. In these lines, one evening the red trap seller was walking very slowly. He saw a little grey cottage which stood by the road. He went up to the cottage and knocked at the door so as to get shelter for the night. Generally he was not helped by anyone, but this time he was welcomed by the old man into his cottage. He was a lonely old man without wife and kids. The old man was happy to get company that night, so the old man gave him some porridge to eat and then shared his tobacco with the guest. After this, both played cards till bedtime. Now next paragraph. The old man was just as generous with his confidences as with his porridge and tobacco. The guest was informed at once that in his days of prosperity his host had been a crofter at Ramsjo Iron Works and had worked on the land. Now that he was no longer able to do day labor, it was his cow which supported him. Yes, that Bossy was extraordinary. She could give milk for the creamery every day, and last month he had received all of 30 kroner in payment. In these lines, generous it means liberal, confidences it means secrets here, prosperity it means riches, crofter it means a person who works on a rented farm, bossy it means it is a Latin word boss used for a cow. Creamery it means a factory that produces cheese and cream. Kroner it is a currency of Sweden. Kroner is a currency of Sweden. So in this paragraph, the red trap seller felt that the old man was not only liberal in sharing his porridge but also his secrets. He tells him that he was a rich man when he used to work on the rented farm. As he was old now and couldn't work, so he had to depend upon his cow for his living. The cow gave enough milk every day to be sold in the factory that produced cheese and cream. The old man said that he was able to earn 30 kroners last month because of the cow's milk. Now the next paragraph. The stranger must have seemed incredulous, for the old man got up and went to the window, took down a leather pouch which hung on a nail in the very window frame, and picked out 3 wrinkled 10 kroners bills. This he held up before the eyes of his guest, nodding knowingly and then stuffed them back into the pouch. In these lines, incredulous it means unbelieving, and stuffed it means to fill up with something. In this paragraph, the red trap seller did not believe the old man's words that the cow could earn him so much. Therefore, the old man took a leather pouch which hung on a window and took out 3 notes of 10 kroner, each which were old and crushed. He showed those currency notes to make him believe his words and then kept them back into the pouch. Now next lines. The next day both men got up in good season. The crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow, and the other man probably thought he should not stay in the bed when the head of the house had gotten up. They left the cottage at the same time. The crofter locked the door and put the key in his pocket. The man with the red traps said goodbye and thank you, and thereupon each went his own way. In a good season, it means early enough. Next morning, both the red trap seller and the crofter woke up early, as the crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow. Even the red trap seller felt that as the owner of the house had awakened, so he should also leave the bed. They both came out of the cottage at the same time. The old man locked the door and went to his work. The red trap seller also thanked him and went his own way. Now next lines. But half an hour later, the red trap peddler stood again before the door. He did not try to get in, however. He only went up to the window, smashed a pane stuck in his hand, and got hold of the pouch with the 30 kroner. He took the money and thrust it into his own pocket. Then he hung the leather pouch very carefully back in its place and went away. In these lines, peddler it means seller, smashed it means badly broken. After about half an hour, the red trap seller returned to the cottage and he broke down the window pane where the pouch hung. He took away the money, kept it in his pocket, put the pouch back at its place and walked off. Now the next lines. As he walked along with the money in his pocket, he felt quite pleased with his smartness. He realized, of course, that at first he dared not continue on the public highway, but must turn off the road into the woods. During the first hours, this caused him no difficulty. Later in the day, it became worse, for it was big and confusing forest which he had gotten into. He tried to be sure to walk in a definite direction, but the paths twisted back and forth so strangely. He walked and walked without coming to the end of the wood, and finally he realized that he had only been walking around in the same part of the forest. All at once he recalled his thoughts about the world and the red trap. Now his own turn had come. He had let himself be fooled by a bait and had been caught. The whole forest, with its trunks and branches, its thickest and fallen logs, closed in upon him like an impenetrable prison from which he could never escape. In these lines, thickest, it means a dense group of bushes, a thick forest. Impenetrable, it means impassable. In these lines, the peddler was quite happy as he had money in his pocket. He then thought of walking through the forest, as it was unsafe to walk on the highway because he feared being caught. So initially it was not difficult to walk through the forest, but later on it got confusing for him as he forgot his way. He tried hard to walk in the right direction, but in vain, but it useless for him, as he found himself at the same place again and again. At this point of time, he started thinking that now he himself was caught in the trap of the world, just like other people. He was fooled by the bait of money which he had stolen from the old man's house. The forest seemed like a prison full of trunks and branches. It was like an impassable prison. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. Finally, he saw no way out and he sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that his last moment had come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. There was no doubt as to what that was. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill, he thought. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, got up and staggered in the direction of the sound. In this paragraph, gloom means dark. Despair, it means hopelessness. Thumping, it means the sound of some heavy object hitting or beating. Summoned, it means gathered or to collect. Stagger, it means to walk with difficulty. In these lines, as it was the month of December, it got dark early. As it got dark, his hope of escaping the forest reduced. The danger to his life increased, and so did his feeling of being hopeless. There was no way left for him, so he sat on the ground and was so tired and terrified that he thought this was his last moment and soon he would die. As he laid his head on the ground, he heard a very strong regular sound. It was a hard sound that was coming at the regular intervals. He soon realized that this sound were the sounds of hammer strokes from an iron mill. He thought that he could find some people nearby. With this thought, he gathered some strength and started walking with great difficulty towards the direction of the sound. Now next paragraph. The Ramsjo iron works, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant with smelter, rolling mill and forge. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows slide down the canal which led to a large inland lake, and in the wintertime the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust which sifted down from the big charcoal crates. In these lines, forge, it means a shop where metal is heated. Barge, it means a long flat bottomed boat for carrying freight on canals and rivers. Scow, it means a flat bottomed boat used for transporting cargo to and from ships in harbour. Shifted here means descended lightly or sparsely as if sprinkled from a sea. Smelter, it means a machine in which metal is melted to form into a shape. Rolling mill, it means machine to roll metal into sheets. The Ramsjo Iron Works was a large plant which had shut down few years ago. It had smelter, rolling mill and a forge. In summers, long flat-bottomed boats carrying the material would come down the canal which led to a large inland lake for supplying material to the mill, and in winters the roads turned black because of the coal dust that came along due to the transportation of the charcoal crates. Now next paragraph. During one of the long dark evenings just before Christmas, the master smith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace waiting for the crude iron, which had been put in the fire to be ready to put on the anvil. Every now and then one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning in a few moments dripping with perspiration. Though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Here, anvil, it means a heavy iron block with a flat top and concave sides. Perspiration, it means sweating. On one long dark evening near Christmas time, the master smith and his helper were sitting in the dark forge which was built near the furnace. He was wearing a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Both of them were waiting for the pig iron which was put inside the furnace fire to be ready to put onto the anvil. Is a heavy block with a flat top which is used to shape the metals. They took turns to stir the liquid which was very hot. As they could bear the heat for a few minutes, each of them would return sweating profusely. Now next lines. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. The big bellows groaned and the burning coke cracked. The fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace with a great deal of clatter. Outside roared the waterfall, and a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick-tiled roof. In these lines, bellows it means airbag that emits a stream of air used for blowing air into a fire. Shovel it means move, maw it means jaw, clatter it means bang, and whipped it means beaten with a whip. It's here to hit something. Whipped it means to hit something. One could hear different types of sounds in the forge. There was a big bellow which was blowing air in the fire with a great sound. Also there was the sound of cracking coal. One could also hear the bang of the charcoal which was being shoveled by the fire boy, the sounds which were coming from outside the mill. These were of the waterfall, the high-speed north wind which hit the raindrops against the brick-tiled roof. Now, next paragraph. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. So, it was due to this different types of sounds that the blacksmith didn't realize that a man had opened the gate of the forge and had entered, till he came and stood near the furnace. Now next paragraph. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty pans, and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. The blacksmiths glanced only casually and differently at the intruder. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of red traps dangling on his chest. In these lines, sooty panes, it means window panes covered in soot, black powder produced when coal, wood, etc. is burned. That is sooty panes. Many homeless people used to get attracted to the lights of the forge, which peeked through the window panes, which were covered with the black powder of burnt coal. They would seek shelter there. They would warm themselves with the help of the burning fire. As the blacksmiths were accustomed to visitors, they were indifferent to the man. They just looked at him. The red trap seller's appearance was similar to that of other wanderers. He had a long beard, was dirty, wore old worn out clothes, and had a bunch of red traps hanging from his chest. He asked permission to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded a hearty consent without honoring him with a single word. Here haughty, it means arrogant. The peddler tried to seek permission from the blacksmith so that he could stay in the forge for a night. He allowed the peddler with an arrogant consent by just nodding and didn't say a single word to him. Now next, the tramp did not say anything either. He had not come there to talk but only to warm himself and sleep. In those days, the Ramsjo iron mill was owned by a very prominent iron master whose greatest ambition was to ship out good iron to the market. He watched both night and day to see that the work was done as well as possible. and at this very moment he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. In these lines, prominent it means important, tramp it means vagabond or wanderer. So the peddler also said nothing because his main aim was to warm himself and sleep over there. The owner of the Ramsjo iron mill in those days was a very ambitious person whose aim was to sell only the finest iron into the market. Therefore, he used to keep a check on the workers both during and the night and day. The owner was on a night inspection visit when the peddler entered the forge. Naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall ragamuffin who had eased his way so close to the furnace that steam rose from his wet rags. The ironmaster did not follow the example of the blacksmiths who had hardly deigned to look at the stranger. He walked close up to him, looked him over very carefully, and then tore off his slouch hat to get a better view of his face. Here, ragamuffin it means a person in rags. Deigned it means do something that one considers to be beneath one's dignity. Slouch hat it means hat bent on one side of the head. So unlikely the blacksmiths, the ironmaster at once noticed the peddler who was sitting so close to furnace that steam was coming out of his torn clothes. He not only went near him but also removed the wanderer's hat that was bent to one side so that he could see the man's face clearly. The next lines. But of course it is you, Nils Olof, he said. How you do look? The man with the red trap had never before seen the ironmaster at Ramsjo and did not even know what his name was. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, he might perhaps throw him a couple of kroner. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once. So, in these lines, acquaintance it means associate, undeceive it means to tell someone that his belief is mistaken. So, when the ironmaster took off the peddler's hat, he mistook him as an old acquaintance, Nils Olof. The peddler didn't know him, nor had he seen this man before. But he thought that if this man mistook him as his old companion and gave him some money out of pity, then it would be a good thing. Therefore, he didn't let him know that he had mistaken him as Nils Olof. Yes, God knows things have gone downhill with me, he said. He should not have resigned from the regiment, said the ironmaster. That was a mistake. If only I had still been in the service at the time, it never would have happened. Well, now of course you will come home with me. In these lines, downhill it means worst, regiment it means unit in the army or defense forces. So the peddler started a conversation with the ironmaster by saying that things didn't went well with him. To this, the ironmaster replied that he had made a big mistake by leaving the regiment, by leaving the army. He also added that if he would have been working in the regiment when he resigned, he wouldn't have let him do so. Later on, he invited him to his home. Now, next lines. To go along up to the manor house and be received by the owner like an old regimental comrade, that, however, did not please the tramp. No, I couldn't think of it, he said, looking quite alarmed. He thought of the 30 kroner. To go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. He only wanted a chance to sleep here in the forge and then sneak away as inconspicuously as possible. In this line, manor house, it means a large country house. Comrade, it means a fellow soldier. Alarmed, it means frightened. Inconspicuously, it means invisible or which is not noticeable. In this line, the red trap seller didn't find it to be a good idea to visit the ironmaster's place. He was frightened with the idea of visiting to the large house of an old man soldier, which according to him was not safe. After all, he had the stolen money with him. He didn't want to put himself in danger. His intentions were to sleep in the forge and then go away from there without even being noticed. Now the next lines. The ironmaster assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there, he said. Elizabeth is dead. As you may already have heard, my boys are abroad and there is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. We were just saying that it was too bad we didn't have any company for Christmas. Now, come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. In this line, the ironmaster was aware of his friend's miserable condition. So he tried to make him comfortable by saying that he should feel free to come his home, as his home was an ordinary one. He told him that his wife was no more and added that he must be aware of this. Then he let him know that both his sons were settled abroad. Only he and his daughter were left at home. He invited him to celebrate Christmas with his family, so that he and his daughter may have some good company at the Christmas feast. But the stranger said no, and again no, and the ironmaster showed that he must give in. It looks as though Captain Bonstell preferred to stay with you tonight, Sturgeonstone, he said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. In this line, though the ironmaster made many attempts to invite him, the peddler didn't accept his invitation. So at last he says to the blacksmith, whose name is Sturgeonstone, that it seemed that Captain Bonstell, it means peddler, wanted to stay with him in the forge. But he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith, who knew him, understood very well that he had not said his last word. Then he laughed and went away, but the blacksmith knew that he was hiding something.